Hello, I have some very unsettling news for you regarding Joe Biden's infrastructure package. So I'll just jump right into this. This is from USA Today. Biden offers to keep 2017 Trump tax cuts intact in infrastructure counteroffer to the GOP. Before I elaborate on this, let's get into a little bit of the article. I won't read the whole thing, but just listen up because this is striking. In a concession to Republicans, President Joe Biden proposed that instead of raising the corporate tax rate to pay for a bipartisan infrastructure package totaling at least $1 trillion, they'd work to ensure corporations didn't exploit tax loopholes. The article goes on, but the president still supports raising corporate taxes to cover other parts of his agenda, the White House said. So he doesn't want to raise the taxes and counteroffer to the GOP, but he still supports raising the corporate tax. So he's not going to do it, but I'm in support of it. Biden's latest infrastructure counteroffer proposed to Republican senators this week would keep intact President Donald Trump's 2017 tax cuts that they oppose unwinding, calling it a red line in their negotiations with the White House. The tweak proposal would no longer raise the corporate tax rate from 21% to 28%, relying on the funding components of Biden's American job plans, beefing up tax enforcement on the country's wealthiest earners and ensuring the largest corporations, some of which have avoided paying any taxes because of loopholes, pay at least a minimum of 15%. Need I remind you that the corporate tax rate under Obama was 35%? Did the economy go up in flames? Did the world end? No, none of that happened. Let's continue. This should be completely acceptable to a number of Republicans who have said that their bottom line is they want to keep the 2017 tax law untouched, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said Thursday. So they're just catering to the Republicans. They're governing based upon what the Republicans want. That's it. I mean, it's right here in black and white. Screw what the people want. Screw what the people need. Let's just ask the Republicans what they want and let's try to cater to them. And they're not gonna, the beauty in all of this, they're doing all of this for bipartisan support. The Republicans aren't gonna vote for it anyway. When Barack Obama got in office, he had super majorities in the House and in the Senate. And he passed the Republican health care plan, Obamacare. It was originally a health care plan founded by the Heritage Foundation, which is a Republican think tank, okay? It was Mitt Romney's health care plan, and it got no support from any Republican. None whatsoever. They're not going to vote for this bill. They're going to oppose everything that they put forth. And the Republican health care plan these days is basically nothing. They want less health care. That's their plan. Let's continue. Psaki made clear that Biden has not abandoned his push to increase the corporate tax rate to pay for proposals such as a $1.8 trillion families plan that includes subsidized child care and national pre-kindergarten. So they're saying that, okay, look, we're not going to get rid of the Trump tax cuts. We're going to make sure that we enforce that they don't exempt themselves from paying taxes and what have you. And they're throwing in these little caveats like, oh, we still haven't abandoned, increasing the corporate tax rate to pay for the family plan and all this, but we're not going to do it, but we still favor it. This is neoliberal bullshit at its finest. And I truly hope that people aren't fooled by this insane rhetoric. I'm sorry I can't just completely read the article. I have to keep stopping because I have to debunk this complete nonsense. What the president believes is that corporations can afford to pay a little bit more, Psaki said, and that's a way we can pay for a range of the bold proposals that he has put forward. But you're not going to make them pay more. Interesting. Biden's offer, first reported by the Washington Post, was made during a private one-on-one meeting Wednesday with Senator Shelley Moore. We don't really need to know about that. This is what I want to get to. Biden signaled he wants at least $1 trillion in spending on infrastructure, in addition to $400 billion in baseline spending already approved for infrastructure. Biden reduced the cost, here we go now, of his American Jobs Plan to $1.7 trillion from $2.25 trillion last month to get closer to an amount Republicans could support. In their counter proposal last week, Republicans upped their offer to $928 billion from $568 billion. Their proposal contains $290 billion on top of baseline funds. And Psaki says that Biden isn't willing to go below $1 trillion, and the rest of the article is something that I don't really want to read. But do you realize what's going on here? The Republicans' first plan was a little bit over $500 billion. And now they're saying, you know what, we'll do $900 trillion. Biden's like, we can't go below $1 trillion. Do you realize how staunch these people are? They're not going to vote for your bill unless it's exactly what they want. They don't care how much you cater to them. Unless it's exactly what they want, verbatim, check every box, they're not going to vote for it. They still might not vote for it because they're that vitriolic and they're that insane. And the Democrats are even more insane because I think that them doing what they're doing is even more crazy than what the Republicans are doing. You're catering to the Republicans as if they're the only ones that exist in this country, as if there isn't a population of people that would greatly benefit from the corporate tax rate being raised. And just in case you forgot, let me remind you about those 2017 tax cuts. 83% of the benefits went to the top 1%. 83, you didn't benefit off that tax cut bill. No, you did. You did. Okay? 83% of the benefits went to the top 1%. It increased the deficit, the debt deficit by $2 trillion. It didn't create this large amount of jobs that they said would happen. When you give them tax cuts, they take the tax cuts and they go on about their way. They don't employ people. That's not what these big CEOs and big corporations do. That's the opposite of what they do. Did the Republicans have bipartisan support when they passed that tax bill? But the Democrats are seeking for bipartisan support now. This is absolutely insane. It feels like we're living in a dream, a very, very bad dream. But this is in fact reality. And this is the party that's supposed to be for the people and for the working class. FDR would be so ashamed if he saw our current state of affairs in regards to our government. This is absolutely awful, and all of those people in Congress in Washington should be completely ashamed of themselves. I know they're not, but they should be. But the Justice Democrats, the progressive people in the Senate, if there even is one other than Bernie Sanders, they should have some integrity, at least a shred of integrity, and not vote for this bill and do everything that they can to make sure that it becomes something that's even mildly acceptable, because right now it's just completely awful. I also want to read you something from Jeff Stein, because this also infuriated me. Jeff Stein says that the G7 global tax deal announced today is a very big deal and an apparent coup for Treasury Secretary Yellen. Major first step toward a 15% global minimum tax that could make it easier for U.S. To raise corporate taxes while reducing incentives of multinationals to go abroad. Huge obstacles still loom, particularly because this is non-binding and of course leaves out many countries. It's rather simple that countries that have statutory tax rates of 15% agree that other countries should also have that. So essentially what he's talking about is so 7 countries have agreed, including the US, have agreed upon this global tax of 15%. It still leaves out many countries, as he pointed out right there. And the thing is, they don't want to raise the corporate tax, so they're trying to do this global tax thing. But when you take into account the global aspect of it, as in all countries, there are so many different countries that aren't going to be okay with this. And there are so many different countries that, there's so many different personalities and ideologies. You know, some people are going to raise it more, some people are going to want to raise it less, some people aren't going to want to raise it at all. And in order to get like a true global tax, it's going to have to go through Congress, it's going to get through the Senate, and make it through the House. And I mean, would a global tax be beneficial? Yes, it would bring in a lot of money. But as Jeff Stein stated there, and it's very true, there are many hurdles, and I personally believe that it's entirely unlikely that we even achieve a global tax. Okay? But the fact of the matter is, the infrastructure package that Joe Biden has proposed has been completely eviscerated. Completely eviscerated. And this is neoliberal politics at its finest. This is who we expected them to be. The best legislation that they has already been passed, I meant to say. And I don't think we're going to get anything else. The $15 minimum wage, write that off. The public option, write it off. forgiving student loan debt, write it off, legalizing marijuana, write all that shit off, because it's not happening. It's just not happening. They're catering to the Republicans. That seems like their only line of action here, and I truly don't understand it. And they're going to do all this, and then they're going to turn around in the midterms and in the next election and ask for you to vote for them. They're going to do all this, and then they're still going to ask for you to vote for them. Why would anybody do that? Now, I'm not saying go and vote for Republicans, because they're trash as well, even more trash. But regular people aren't going to be able to tell the difference. I mean, truly, what is the difference, really? It's not that big enough to be noticeable, in my humble opinion. And lastly, allow me to say, I don't remember the exact number, but experts say that to adequately, not just adequately, not to go above and beyond, but to just simply adequately fix this country's infrastructure, which I believe gets a grade of like C- or something like that. It used to be a D+, but I think it got upgraded to C-. You need at least 4 point something trillion dollars. So let's just say at least $4 trillion. He's now proposing, what was it, 1.7 trillion, and he went down from 2.25 trillion to meet the Republicans. And he doesn't want to get rid of Donald Trump's tax cuts because they love their tax cuts. This is absolutely insane. They went full neoliberalism. The next FDR my ass, man. It seems as if they've learned nothing from the Obama years. It seems as if they've learned nothing from what brought us Donald Trump. And as a result of it, the future looks very bleak.